Welcome, everyone, to Wager Talk Extra. I am Andy Lang from WagerTalk.com, fresh off of the U.S. Open myself, and Nick Borrman will be breaking down the Travelers Championship. Will we have a little bit of a lull after the U.S. Open? Does not look like it. Loaded field, big purse. So we have a lot of the heavy hitters and well-known names. So I expect a really competitive tournament and definitely a very bettable and gettable tournament. So we are going to break that down here in a second. Nick, before we get into that real quick, do you have any thoughts on the U.S. Open? What'd you think of the course? What'd you think of the overall tournament? Wyndham Clark coming not really out of nowhere, but it's nice to see him finally get the spotlight after the year he's had.
Yeah, Wyndham Clark, for the non-golf fan or enthusiast probably seemed like it was out of nowhere, but for you and I, Andy, it was definitely not out of nowhere. He's been playing great all year. Obviously, he won the Wells Fargo just 6 weeks prior. So this was not a surprise at all. He's one of the best players, iron players right now on the planet. So good for him. Congratulations to him. Great tournament for him. I'm sure it'll be hard to sustain that this week, but I digress. LACC is funny just watching Twitter, reading Twitter all week and Thursday after, a couple guys went low. Obviously, Ricky and Xander shooting 62. And then, of course, Fleetwood shot a 63 on Sunday, which, it happens, right? But really, the course, I think, played how the USGA wanted it to play. I mean, it was probably a little easier than they expected it to be playing on Thursday, but the conditions coming into that week were tough for the ground screw to get that thing really firm and really fast. I mean, it was cool. There was wet. There was marine layers, of course. So it's just things that are part of Mother Nature. You can't win against. But as the week went on, as expected, the course got harder. The winning score only finished at 2 better than what we saw that Thursday low score be, and only 2 players were better than that. Both Xander and Ricky, who shot those 62s, only went backwards from there. So I think it played how they wanted it. It rewarded good shots. It penalized by. It took really good shots to actually get rewarded, because even some of the pretty good shots were hitting firmer greens and rolling a little further out, and it did more and more difficult as those 4 days went on. So I thought it ended up playing pretty well, but it definitely was a lot of panic on everybody's minds over especially that first day. And I'm just like, hold on, everybody, hang on. So I liked it though.
Yeah, I thought it was good. It was very quirky. The crowd the crowd was terrible. There was a lot of stories about how they had way too many corporate tickets. Most of those tickets were in the suites. They got held up to club members. I mean, it basically looked like a private event. I thought it was the worst crowd of a major we've seen in just a very, very long time. So, but I liked the course. I loved the 6th hole. I loved some of the quirkiness of it. So I course-wise, home run. Crowd, F. So, but yes, congratulations to Wyndham Clark on that one. That was cool. So, all right, let's move to the Travelers. We're going to be at TPC River Highlands. And listen, we were able to do a good job breaking down the course because LACC did a great job putting videos out there of all the holes. This course gets a D- because there's not a lot of information. There's a flyover of the course that's 5 years old, so I'm pretty sure it's not accurate. So I did want to go over 3 holes that I think could be a pretty big part in determining the winner here. They're 3 of my favorite here. So I'm looking at hole 2, and this is a short one. It's kind of a little bit of a high risk, high reward. It's only 341 yards, par 4. I love these short par 4s. I think the strategy on these just tells me everything I need to know about a golfer. So I think you're going to see guys, if they lay up, they have to hit the correct side of the fairway. Otherwise, their approach is going to be blocked. There's some bunkers and trees that can be involved if they want to try and drive it all the way down there. Maybe Cameron Young might be able to. But if you miss your drive, you're going to be in trouble. So could be a birdie hole or it could be a bogey hole on this hole. So I love these short, drivable par 4s here. Next hole I think that's interesting is hole 13. Probably going to be the easiest hole on the course, 523-yard par 5. I think a decent drive in the fairway, pretty much everyone is going to be able to go for it in 2. And Nick, I think the winner of this tournament is going to have to play this hole in -3 or -4. So like par is going to be a disappointment when you walk off this hole. So I think at the end of the day, this is going to be the scoreable one. And then my favorite, hole 15, is 296 yards par 4. If you drive the ball straight, bang, you got pretty easy birdie looking you in the face. If you don't drive the ball straight, you got a lot of work to do. You can see that this hole is protected by some bunkers, and then obviously there's water. Look at all the runoff on this green. So
Yeah.
this is a lot of fun. It's feast or famine off the tee. If you hit your drive, great. If you miss it, look out. So this could be one of those holes that on Sunday, if there's a really packed leaderboard, this hole could be the one that separates them. As I could easily see a leader take a bogey or double bogey on that one, while someone else, could birdie it. So those are some of the holes that I like. I think this is a very vanilla course, especially compared to what course they're coming off of. Nick, only a couple of par fives. You got par threes, and then you got a lot of short par fours. So if I'm looking for one stat, maybe it's irons. But I think really it just comes down to, a hot putter. You're gonna have to birdie a lot of these holes to win. So, do you have anything else to add to this course, TPC River Highlands?
Sure. I'll just add a couple general notes. We're looking at another par 70 again, just like last week. The difference being 7,800 yards compared to 7,400. So you're going to see a lot of, even for the shorter hitters, you're going to see a lot of wedges or maybe 9 or 8 irons into a lot of these greens. So, as in the past, distance. Length off the tee never hurts anybody, right? But you will see the plotters, as we like to call them, be able to contend this week because it is shorter, and even they can have a short iron in their hands when they're attacking these greens. And just to give you an idea of what is possible here, Jim Furyk holds the tour record, and Jim was not a long guy with shooting that memorable 58 here back in 2016. So this is a course, as you said, Andy, can get low. This is probably going to be pushing the 20 under range by the time it's all said and done. The only thing to pay attention to, I'll add, is weather. Thursday looks dry, but Friday, Saturday, Sunday have thunderstorms all in the forecast. Of course, nothing's pinpointed as far as timing goes. I don't know if that'll give an advantage to a Thursday, Friday draw at all. But if you can, maybe wait until Wednesday and kind of really hone in on that weather forecast before placing all your bets this week. But it might not matter. It might. So it's just worth one note I wanted to make on that.
All right, great stuff. So now we know a little bit more about the course. Nick, going to come to you. We need to know about our total strokes gained. You do a great job with this every week. A lot of the winners come from this very graphic. So if you want to narrow down the chances that guys have to win, we got to look at it. So let's take a look at total strokes gained. Some of the bigger, it's all big name guys up there, but I like your list of notables there with Homa, Fowler, and Clark. So walk us through this list. Give us some guys that jump out to you, and what can we take away from this chart?
Sure. This is top 10 strokes gained over the last 12 months preceding the tournament. So obviously, it's very similar and almost, mirrors what you're going to see in the odds board because, heck, these are the best players in the world playing at the highest level right now. So it makes sense that these are going to be your favorites for the week. So no surprise, Scotty Scheffler leading the way. He's just tee to green, head and shoulders above everybody and has been for, the last 2 years. So there he is right on top, if he can only putt. And the list is as you'd expect it to be. It's honestly, the top 10 is a copy and paste from last week at LACC. Literally copy and paste as far as the order of names, just a few tweaks in some of the numbers. The notables you mentioned, Andy, I threw in here Max Homa. Reason being he's number 11 in over the last 12 months, but you can see his trend of 6 months and now down to the last 3 months. He is clearly trending in the wrong direction. And you can see that last week as he played great on Thursday, then ended up playing poorly on Friday, missed the cut at LACC. And then, of course, he had to put in Ricky, had to put in Wyndham, the two big names from last week that were battling out. Wyndham, of course, pulled through. Ricky faded there on Sunday, but both opposite of Max Homa. Pretty solid over the last 12 months, but have really come on over the last 6 months and especially the last 3 months. So those guys are trending up versus you got Max Homa trending down. So I use the graphic as a gauge to go who's playing well coming in, and then I look a little further and to go, well, who's trending the right direction as well. So those guys are fit one way or the other. But overall, 18 of 33 winners, 55% outright winners this year have come from within this top 10. So it's always why I like to start there, Andy. And I'm thinking one of these guys probably lifts the trophy this week. If not, several of them will be in contention come Sunday.
Absolutely. Great work on the total strokes gained. You got to start there when you start your handicapping, when you look at these big guys. So let's go the opposite direction and let's take a look at some players that can trip you up. These are some players that I think a lot of people are going to be betting on or putting in their DraftKings lineups. And I'm a little bit worried about them. And Nick, you mentioned him. I mean, my gosh, he's number one in total strokes gained, Scotty Scheffler. Nick, this guy would be a heck of a golfer if he could putt. Uh, his his tee to green is just nothing short of I mean, iconic, epic. Like his drives are long and accurate. His irons are always dialed in, and there he is, minus 0.57 strokes gained putting. And I just think this is a course where you're going to have to make a lot of birdies. And Scheffler's putting, I think he's going to miss enough of these short putts to where he's going to fall out of this top three. And he's such a favorite this week. He's going to have to win, or he's going to have to finish top two to provide any type of return on investment. This is a guy who's
Yeah.
massively favored in his head-to-heads. He's like minus 190 against Rory McIlroy. So I just can't trust a guy that cannot putt from short distance like this guy. So he's too expensive for me. Is he going to be in the top 5, in the top 10? Probably, but to return value, you need a win or a top 2 finish, and I don't trust his putting. Up next, Wyndham Clark. I mean, this is a very big letdown spot for him. Pretty obvious. He's priced as a top 10 golfer this week. I'm a little surprised on that. Wouldn't be surprised if he misses the cut. I mean, super emotional win with everything that's been going on with his mom. Gets the U.S. Open win. And on top of that, he just doesn't really play that good here historically. 35th, miscut the last 3 years. I'm just going to stay away from the newly crowned U.S. Open champ. We've got a big lull of fairly weak tournaments after this week. So I could see him looking ahead to a nice little break to recharge the battery. So Wyndham Clark, no thanks. And then Ricky Fowler. I mean, listen, Wyndham Clark and Ricky Fowler were my DraftKings darlings last week, but I'm going to stay away from Fowler. I think he might be a little bit out of sorts. That was an emotional week for him and a pretty big letdown on Sunday. He's been great this year. I've made a lot of money off of him for sure, especially in DFS. But he's missed the cut the last 2 tournaments here, and I know that his putting is so much better this year than it was previously. But this is 5 tournaments in 6 weeks for him. That's a lot of golf compared to the rest of his schedule for this year. So, it just has the makings that maybe he's not 100% invested in where he's priced at. I think he's going to be a little bit overvalued. So Scheffler, Wyndham Clark, Ricky Fowler, these are 3 big name guys that I think people are going to be high on this week, and I'm going to stay away from. So, all right, Nick, let's go to an outright winner here. And I love this guy. He doesn't hit the ball a mile. He just plays golf nice and safe. And then when you know it, there he is in the top 20. So go ahead and let's talk a little bit about Russell Henley and what you like for him this week.
Absolutely. And first of all, I do love the 3 players you listed there on your guys that might trip you up. And, listen, if you're looking at the big 3, Scotty 6-1, you can get Rahm 11-1. I mean, double the money on Rahm. If you're going to take one of the big 3, maybe look towards him as opposed to Scheffler. So agreed 100% with your list. Russell Henley is indeed my favorite outright play this week. We're looking at a 40-1 number on Russell right now. And I think you hit the nail on the head. He is not a sexy name. He's not a player that, people are lined up to watch. But when you come and look at the leaderboard at the end of the week, you're like, oh, okay, he's in the top 10. Oh, he's in the top 20. He's kind of always in there, right? And he does have a win back in the fall. It was in November at the Worldwide Technology Championship. But over his last 8 starts, Andy, he's missed the cut 1 time, which did come at the PGA Championship. But in his other 7 starts, he's finished inside the top 20 in all of them, including a tie for 4th at the Masters and a tie for 16th last week at that U.S. Open. His weakness is his length. You mentioned that, but at just 6,800 yards and a course that has proven that short hitters can contend because they can even have short irons in their hand, he's going to have his chances here. He is number 1 on tour in driving accuracy, so you expect that he's going to be always having a good look into these greens with short irons and never be in trouble in the rough. And he also ranks 9th in proximity to the hole, so when he does have a short club in his hand, he's putting it pretty darn close. That's a good combination. Travelers slotting directly after the U.S. Open. Normally, Andy, we see this field a little weaker. So if you look at a lot of the history for some of these bigger name guys, they don't play here very often, if at all, to be honest. So Henley has played here consistently. This is his 5th start. He has 3 prior top 20 finishes, including last year. So I like Henley to be in contention come Sunday. I will always back up his outright with a top 10 or a top 20. I haven't quite decided yet. That way, at least if my hunch is right and he's playing well this week, at least we'll cash something. But I do think at 40-1, he's providing us pretty good value this week. So Russell Henley is my favorite outright play at the Travelers.
Russell Henley is like if you boil golf down to the very bare bone basics on how to succeed. It's like hit the ball in the fairway, put the ball on the green, make a few putts, top 20. That's Russell Henley's game. So yeah, I love Russell Henley this week. A lot of value on him on the outrights. I'll be looking at him in head-to-heads as well. Let's move to DraftKings Darlings. Listen, having Ricky Fowler and Wyndham Clark in our lineups last week was very, very good for the bankroll. So I'll take that one. That was a great lineup. Justin Rose was the real bummer in my DraftKings lineup, but the rest of it was a home run. So we should have cashed here. So let's talk about some names that I think, Nick, you and I touched on that. We probably know these guys better than others, but man, these are just absolute DraftKings darlings. I'll start with Justin So at 7,200. Young guy, criminally undervalued. He makes the cut all the time. That's 4 straight weeks he makes the cut, 6 out of 7. And in the last 30 days, he's plus 1.09 strokes gained putting. And this is a guy that's not just barely making the cut and then finishing 60th on the weekends. He's making the cut. He's doing some damage on the weekend. So he's getting you really, really good weekend points. So Justin So is going to be a guy that I start my lineups with. Only $100 more. Austin Eckroat, 7,300. This guy's another one. Very, very undervalued and underpriced. Fantastic in the head-to-head markets as well. He's made the cut in 6 straight tournaments. He was 10th last week, 30th the week before, 16th and 2nd the weeks before that. He has a 12th best total strokes gained the last 30 days in the field. Honestly, if you read those stats and you take away the name, you would be like, who is that? Fleetwood, Lowry, Schauffele? No, that's 7,300 Austin Eckroat. So what a great value on that one. And then again, this guy has got to be top 3 DraftKings darlings this year. Eric Cole, 7,300 DFS cash machine, head-to-head cash machine last week. 5 made cuts in the last 6 weeks. 39th last week at the U.S. Open. And this guy, he's like, remember when Sung Jae Im was just playing every week? That's kind of what Eric Cole is doing. He doesn't take a week off. To be just out of college again. But these are 3 really, really solid names. I would expect all 3 of these guys to see the weekend. And if you want the rest of the lineup, I have my free digital download and article up at WagerTalk.com. It's got the rest of the lineup as well. So, Nick, let's move on to top 10 and top 20. You can grab this player at plus money for both of them, which is pretty stunning considering how well he's playing. So let's talk a little Victor Hovland.
Your guys you just mentioned there for darlings, Andy, all of them are north of 100 to 1 to win this week, and all of them are the minimum is 3 to 1, but a couple of them are 4 or 5 to 1 on just a top 20, which they've all been doing. So great value on those gentlemen you named. Yes, I'm looking at Vic Hovland this week as leaderboard finish. I kind of like him coming off the U.S. Open last week. He played well. I mean, he finished in the top 20, but he really wasn't in contention. He wasn't a guy that was really going for that outright win, which we know in the week-to-week golf grind can really zap you of energy. So I like the fact that he wasn't in contention and that he can possibly come back around this week and dial it right back in. If he gets off to a hot start, I think he's got a great chance to not only finish in the top 10 or 20, but full disclosure, he's going to be on my outright card as well this week at 20 to 1. He was actually 18 to 1 last week, so he's a little bit better number this week. This is the final designated event of the season, Andy, and only 6 players, here's an interesting stat, only 6 players have competed in all 3 majors and every designated event this year. Of those, only 1 player has cashed in every one of them, and that is our man, Vic Hovland. So he hasn't missed a payday, Andy, since the Scottish Open last July, a run of 21 straight cuts made, which is second on tour. He's got the rare combination of both distance and accuracy with the driver, so that has him ranked 6th this season, strokes gained off the tee. Also ranked 17th strokes gained approach, 6th in proximity, 5th scoring average, 10th in birdie average, blah, 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 blah. I could go on and go on. He's playing well. That's the bottom line. I'm going to put the emphasis back on par 4 scoring this week, Andy. Last week we were talking about par 3 scoring because there was 5 of them. This week is a stock par 70, meaning there's only 2 par 5. So we have a full range of 12 par 4s in play. Hovland ranks 6th on tour this year in par 4 scoring. So I expect him in the mix come Sunday. He's proven he could finally get over the hump with that win at the Memorial. I think he's got a great chance to win this week again, but I definitely believe he's going to be in the mix at least and on that first or second page on Sunday. So top 10 or top 20 are both good on Vic Hovland this week.
Love to see the numbers on Hovland improving around the green. in his short game.
Yes.
Obviously, his Achilles heel, and I don't know what's happened, but last month or so, he's really done a really nice job. I have to say I cashed on Victor Hovland as the top Scandinavian last week, and it was one of those like minus 200, but nobody, it's Alex Noren and Vincent Norman.
Right.
So those of you that followed that play, be careful about taking that again. I'm not going to take it again. There is a very young player from Sweden, Ludvig Adberg. This guy's played in 3 tournaments because he's coming out of college. He's made the cut in all 3. And 25th at the Canadian Open, I believe, is 21st at the Valspar. So another young, really, really good, solid golfer. But if you're looking at that top Scandinavian play, because it cashed last week, just be careful. Hovland's got competition, and he's minus 220 this week. So as much as I like Hovland, there's a new young gun in that market. So unfortunately, may not be able to cash the Scandinavian again. So. All right, I'm going to get to my best bet. And we mentioned fading Wyndham Clark earlier, and I think we got a really good matchup with Matthew Fitzpatrick. So that's going to be my best bet for this week's show. Take Matthew Fitzpatrick and grab around minus 120 over Wyndham Clark. So we get the obvious letdown spot for Wyndham Clark coming off of the U.S. Open. We went over that he traditionally is not very good here. And we get Matthew Fitzpatrick, who's been great the last 3 weeks, 17th, 20th, 9th. And the last time Wyndham Clark won a tournament, which was at the Wells Fargo, he took a week off and then he came back and he missed the cut at the PGA Championship. And that's his only missed cut of the season. So even with a week off, he misses the cut right after the win. I think this is just a huge emotional and physical letdown spot for him. I think this is going to be a tough tournament, and we get a matchup against a guy who's absolutely capable of winning this tournament. He's really improved. I think he was dealing with an injury earlier in the year. So I like where his stats and where his game is a little bit on the rise for Fitzpatrick. Letdown spot for Wyndham Clark. So Matthew Fitzpatrick minus 120 over Wyndham Clark is going to be my best bet. Nick, real quick, tell everyone what you have up for this week and where we can find you at.
Yeah, Andy, thank you. This week we got our Travelers Championship pack up right now. $19 get you the full week of outrights and leaderboard bets, and we've cashed 7 outright winners this season. So hopefully we'll get number 8. And soccer has been rolling right along, number 1 since the beginning of May. MLS number 1 again this season. So we have a MLS card going on Wednesday midweek, and then I do have one soccer 5% top play going on Tuesday as well. So a lot of action going on, even though it's a quiet sports slate, as you say. There's still a lot of golf and soccer action.
I love this time of year. I love it for guys like you and me because, like NBA is over, NHL is over, and all of our sports are still going really strong. So it's a really nice way to add to the bankrolls. Congratulations on your soccer run. Golf has been really good for us this year. I'm currently on a 9-1-1 run. I will have a couple plays up in the head-to-head market. So really trying to extend that winning streak, plus 19 units in that run. All my plays are at WagerTalk.com as well. So that's going to do it for us, guys. Let's have a great Travelers Championship. Grab all of Nick Borman's plays at WagerTalk.com. You can grab all my plays at WagerTalk.com as well. Let's keep the golf profits rolling in, guys. Let's have a great Travelers Championship, and we will see everyone next week on Wager Talk Extra.